All right, so I thought it'd be fun to do some questions with Mica. Earlier, I asked you guys to send in your questions, so here's lightning round-ish.
We'll see.
Okay? Here we go. How do you determine where you get the ingredients for making wine?
Well, there aren't very many ingredients for making wine. It's grapes and barrels, so it's pretty straightforward. I grow almost all my own fruit, or I buy it from friends of mine exclusively. That's the only places I get fruit. Barrels, well, they're either French or American. I buy from only 4 Coopers, so it's pretty straightforward.
Not a wine question, but can you do a makeup tutorial on the makeup look you have on?
It's a nice makeup look. I worked really hard on it this morning. Hey, there's mousse in my hair, okay? I got mousse. It was solid. Cheapest one on the shelf.
True story, I saw the mousse. Will you be making a Pina Grigio or Riesling?
Actually, I do make Pinot Grigio and Riesling.
Well, one brick
We've been working on perfecting them. So once we get them where we want them, we can do a one brick one. Right now, they're not really where I want them. It takes a few years because these are vineyards I've purchased that were dilapidated. I had to fix up. So it takes a few years to get them perfect. They're not quite there.
What kind of fruit essence does it have? I'm allergic to raspberries, but love Cabernet. So do people, like if people are allergic, they can't?
So when you get a fruit essence, like in LaCroix, for example, that is an additive that I would have to list on the label. So if it doesn't say fruit essence, it doesn't exist. So if you taste raspberries in a Cabernet, it's because the Cabernet fruit tastes like raspberries. It's not an additive. That's a naturally occurring thing.
Interesting. Was Mica born this good looking or did he dress up today?
I'll let that go.
Quality of grape matter more than environmental conditions, vice versa? Great question.
Those aren't independent variables.
He's like, stupid question.
You know, it's not a stupid question. They're just not independent variables. So I can't get a really high quality grape from a bad environment. You know, like it just won't happen.
Okay.
Right? Because we would talk about grapes, there's a daytime temperature and a nighttime temperature, and the interaction between those two things develops flavors. So you have to have the right combination to make it taste right. So saying you have a bad environment and a good grape, it may look good, but to me it won't taste good.
What kind of wine would make me bloat the least?
Bloat the least?
Water.
Water? Like, I'm not really sure why you would bloat from wine.
Oh my God, thank you. Because, no, but I'm being serious though. Like, because my trainer always says that wine bloats you, but I'm like, no, it doesn't. It actually makes me feel like I get, but they're like, she's like, it's sugar. And I'm like, not in one brick. Because in one brick, there's only less than 1 gram of sugar, which is exactly
0.63.
0.63 per glass. So you ain't gonna bloat with 1 brick, okay? I've been asked this question a million times, and I'm gonna be very honest with you. And I feel like I shouldn't be this honest, but you know, I'm pretty authentic with some of my things. So what's a Moscato, and are we ever making one? Because I keep getting asked, are you going to do a Moscato? And I'm like, I wish I knew what a Moscato was.
Do you want to do a Moscato?
I don't know what it is.
So
what
Moscato is actually an American invention. There's a grape called Muscat, right? So they
never saw that at Publix.
So they made something called Moscato, which is basically a light, sweet, aromatic flavored wine. It tastes like Muscat, but it's typically not actually Muscat.
Okay.
If we wanted to make something like that, we can totally do that. It's fun.
What does it
it's
taste
interesting.
like? Because
Muscat. Muscat's technically a table grape. It tastes like perfume. So when they're good, they're really good.
Dry?
It's sweet.
Like
Muscats are about 10% alcohol. Sweetness.
So it's a dessert wine.
No, they're 20 grams of residual sugar. I mean, what would be the closest example of what Americans drink? Seltzer.
Stem or stemless glasses, doesn't matter.
There's a stem on a glass, you don't heat your wine up. That's the whole concept.
Wait.
Is you hold it here. So you're not holding the bowl.
So it does matter then?
It does matter because you'll heat your wine up. If you drink it fast enough, it won't matter.
Perfect temperature for wine to be
Depends
stored.
on the wine. To be stored. So wine will age, there's microbes in wine. So wine
There's what?
Microbes.
What's that?
Little tiny bacteria float around in the wine.
Yeah, I knew that.
So wine will age faster because of the microbes if it's warmer. So the warmer you get the wine, the faster it's going to age. If it ages too quickly, it will deteriorate. So there's a magic point, 58 to 62 degrees. That's where your cellar's supposed to be. If your cellar's a little warmer, don't age it for a decade, only age it for 5 years.
So my house is 72 degrees and my wine's all on the wall. Is that fine?
It's fine. Okay. How long are you aging your wine? You're aging it 40 years? It might not be fine if you're aging your wine for 40
hours.
years. But if you're aging your wine for a couple of years.
Does the wine get better when it ages? Still kind of new to wine and was wondering.
Wine changes as it ages. It doesn't necessarily get better. That's a personal choice.
How do you know what to save and what to keep?
Typically, bigger red wines with higher alcohols age longer, and wines that are lighter, like white wines, age for a less period of time.
Best wine to start with if you're a new wine drinker. One brick.
One brick, there you go.
And also,
well, if you're a new wine drinker, is what food you eat. If you like chicken more than you like beef, then you should probably start in white wine. And if you like beef, you should probably start in red wine, just because that's what you're already accustomed to, is a heavier flavor or a lighter flavor.
How long is the process to make a bottle of wine?
Depends on what type of wine it is. So for red wines, it's roughly 2 years. For white wines, it can be as short as 3 months.
Is the Chardonnay low sugar too?
Yes.
Really?
It's actually the same amount of sugar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's within a measurement error. It's the same amount. The Chardonnay actually has, it's got more acid, but because the way that acid is pronounced, it comes across as a soft, supple, but still aromatic, crisp white. That is the closest thing you get to Muscat in Chardonnay, actually.
What determines if a wine will be dry or not?
Dry. So that's a combination of sugar, acid, and tannin. So if you have a lot of acid and no sugar, you're dry. If you have a lot of tannin and a lot of acid, you're incredibly dry. Sugar will make it less dry, but if you still have a lot of acid, it will still taste dry.
Got it. Which is fascinating though, because the red blend is so smooth and it's not dry, but there's hardly any sugar in it. So I have a question for you. What's a typical amount of sugar in a glass of wine?
Well, so it depends. European wines, somewhere around
Let's say Napa.
Napa? Oh, it varies a lot. This is how it works. Is the more expensive your wine becomes in Napa, the less sugar it is. So for most people drinking in the $30 to $50 range in Napa, you're looking at 2 to 2.5 grams a liter per glass of sugar.
Oh,
which
okay.
isn't huge. If you're drinking Zinfandel, it's significantly higher. If you're drinking white wine, it's way, way higher than that.
So red.
Red tends to have less sugar. If you're drinking European wines, the answer is 0.
Oh, that's why I don't like European
Your
wine.
wines have no sugar.
How'd you get into the wine business?
The wine business gets into you. Most of the people I know who are in the wine industry had a career doing something else. I'm not an exception. And what we found out was that I can't leave it behind. I'm doing it everywhere I go. I'm making wine in my garage, or I was making wine in my basement. And after a while, I was like, I'm doing this no matter what. It's actually what I prefer. If I'm just going to walk around and drink every day, I might as well get paid for it.
Do you actually know anything about wine?
Me?
I think that was
a
for
little
me,
bit.
actually.
Yeah? You know more than you think. We just
know?
did tasting all day. You know more than you
So
think.
then I'm
You're just not confident about it.
Yeah, because I'm like,
But you actually
is it?
know what you're talking about on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, it's because I did like an online how do you say it? Sommelier. How is One Brick ensuring there are no pesticides?
So in the wine, pesticides is a weighted term in the United States, a loaded term in the United States. There's 1 million pesticides. The number 1 used pesticide in a vineyard is sulfur, elemental sulfur dug out of the dirt. The number 2 used pesticide is baking soda. So if you talk about what pesticides we use, can I ensure there's no pesticides? If you get sulfur in the wine, it tastes horrendous. If you have baking soda in the wine, it counteracts the acid of the fruit and it tastes like milk. So I can guarantee by the taste there's no pesticides in that. Partially because I farm it all. I know exactly what was sprayed, which helps it out a little bit. There's the chemical-based pesticides. We call those translocative pesticides because they go into the plant and move throughout it. Those are much harder to tell if they're in the wine or not. But I don't spray those, so I don't have to worry about it.
And why should people drink One Brick?
Because it's good. Dollar for dollar, you're never going to beat it. And that's the goal of the wine we make. This is good wine for a great price.
And that was A Million Questions with Mica. See you next time.